for people to choose for themselves. That's why it has failed over the years. Not to say that one government is better than the other. Who's to say democracy is better than communism? But socialism has failed. The final Green Book, basically, it was like the universal theory in which he addressed various national issues, the role of women, religion, Islam. Basically talked about the social issues, and he laid out his different views on that. I won't get into that too much, but he basically, one thing that I thought was really interesting is that he felt that he did not like the methodized way of teaching. He did not like classroom and classified subjects, and we must teach science and math, and he didn't like those things. He felt that he wanted to replace the rigid system in Libya and replace it with one in which the students were able to decide to take classes that interest them. I think everybody in here would like that social part of socialism. I would. I don't have to take it. I just have to take whatever I want. I'd make A's. In addition to his focus on socialism, Gaddafi has long emphasized other political ideologies such as nationalism. Nationalism is the thought that people share a common, close relationship, not just within a community, but on a national, patriotic level. And that people, again, would work, it ties into socialism, that they would work together for, you know, the good of the company. They share a bond with their state, with their government. They share a bond with one another, in a sense. Nationalism breeds patriotism in citizens, and Gaddafi believed that wherever patriotism existed, that the people would support and stand up and defend their nation. I know everybody on September 11 was ready to go overseas and do whatever we had to do. That's just nationalism. That's, you know, identifying with your fellow people that we all are representing this nation and working to the good of. And that is something that is very good for all nations to have. But war and violence plague those who spoke against the nationalism of Libya. In this country, you speak out, you have the freedom of speech to an extent. But if you spoke against a new Libyan government, you were treated very harshly. Any critic that spoke out, whether it was an individual citizen, a journalist, a group of people, another government, anybody who spoke out against the Libyan government was harshly treated. There were public hangings for anyone who went against him. Public hangings. Gaddafi's foreign policy was marked by hostility and terrorism. There was no foreign policy other than seek out, destroy anyone who speak against me, who talk against me, who don't understand. He financed from oil revenue violent rebel attacks and violent rebel groups, and he set up training camps in the desert. Okay, Libya is mostly desert, of course, we all know that. It has the Sahara Desert in Libya. And the thing about it is that's tend to be where most terrorist groups actually are trained, deployed from, because it's not easy to use our technological advances to detect such activity. You can do covert operations that way. One of the most notorious groups from those training camps was the Black September group. Guys, I thought that was so funny. Not even funny, but just pretty sad that they called themselves the Black September group. Not really sure, they never stated, but I noticed that many of the terrorist attacks that they did carry out were in September. And what happened, one of the worst terror attacks in U.S. history was carried out on September the 11th. But on September 5th, 1972, weapons were smuggled into West Germany via the Libyan embassy. And the Black September terrorists murdered 11 Israelis who were in Munich, Germany during the Olympic Games. Gaddafi called these men moral heroes. In 1973, Libyan terrorists opened fire at an Athens airport. 3 people were killed, 55 wounded. In the same year, on December the 17th, 1973, a bombing in Rome's airport claims 31 individuals. 1 terrorist was caught and testified that the act was ordered by Gaddafi. In August of 1978, the Lebanese leader Shia Musa al-Assir and 2 companions departed for Libya and were never seen again. They were, at the time, this is pretty important because at the time Musa al-Assir founded a movement of liberal Shia Lebanese resistance movement, which later opposed the invasion of Lebanon. And it was the Israeli invasion. They were against that. And this gentleman went to meet with government officials. He wasn't visiting there for any tourism purposes. He was going to meet with Gaddafi and was never seen again. February of 1980, Gaddafi ordered the deaths of stray dogs. Anyone who fled the country, lived around in Egypt, Niger, Chad. There was a famous war in Chad in which he had. It was pretty bloody. I didn't speak on it too much. It was just one of his many. But he ordered the deaths of stray dogs. That's what he, quote, called them. People. Just because they spoke out. They disagreed. In April of 1984, British police officer Yvonne Fletcher was shot and killed by someone inside the Libyan embassy in London while she was on duty during a demonstration. Libya invoked its right to immunity and the slain went unpunished. I can just kill someone and say, oh, well, I'm a Libyan government, so I won't be prosecuted. In 1986, 3 people, including 2 U.S. soldiers, were killed in a bomb in the West Berlin disco. That was one of the famous things that happened that involved U.S. Citizens or soldiers. Libyan terrorists were blamed in retaliation. Reagan ordered for bombs to be dropped on Gaddafi. He did so in the barracks in which his family lived. And it was reported that Gaddafi lost his 2-year-old daughter. Those reports are unfounded. We're not sure if it was claims because he wanted to arouse some sympathy. He wanted to make claims to, infuriate his people. But there were no reports of him having a daughter. She ranged from months to 4 years old. And at this point, there were no birth documentation to support. He then later claimed she was an adopted child. And the most famous, December 21st, 1988, Pan Am Flight 103, bound for New York City, explodes over Lockerbie, Scotland, killing all 259 passengers on board, as well as 11 people on the ground from falling debris. An investigation later indicts a Libyan officer, and he's held responsible. But for 11 years, Gaddafi refused to turn this man over. He only recently turned him over for trial. He later agreed to pay restitution to the families. But it took 11 years for him to do this, for killing 250 people. Some side notes that didn't really involve the U.S. government, but in 1989, the French government accused Libya of bombing a French plane which killed 170 people. And that's just, those are small compared to the list. War after war, disaster, mischief, many things that he did, isolation from the country, people speaking out against him were killed. All to create a fallacy of government. How do you protect yourself from tyranny? Can you protect yourself from such people? Socialism is a political philosophy that stresses economic equality of all citizens.